Hey guys, welcome to Endurance Room. Today we're going to be talking about the Pathfinder School's Advanced Survival class. So as some of you know, I just returned from the Pathfinder School for their Advanced Survival class. The class was 5 days and 4 nights in southern Ohio at the Pathfinder School property. It's about 165 acres of Ohio wilderness. It's some serious bush. I'd been there 2 weeks prior for the intermediate class, and there was already a significant amount of new growth in those 2 weeks. The advanced class builds on the skills that were laid out in both the basic and the intermediate survival classes. Students were expected to have a good understanding of all the skills that were taught in those earlier classes before they got there. The format of the class was quite a bit different than what I was used to. It was 80% show and 20% learn from the teachers. So basically, you had to know your stuff when you got there, and then you were expected to be able to demonstrate it on demand. When we arrived, we did a quick rundown of all of our equipment and gear, make sure that everything was up to spec and nothing extra was being brought along. Then we were brought down to the classroom area where we did a quick rundown of the week, what was expected of us, the class format. Each day we had to go out and collect resources from the school property during land navigation exercises. We'd pick up different trees, barks, anything that would help facilitate certain projects that were assigned or things that would make camp life a little bit easier for the day. The first day, our priority was fire. All means of fire making had been stripped from us prior to the class. So there's no lighters, no ferro rods, nothing of the sort. So our first priority was getting a fire with a bow drill. We were tasked with going out on the land navigation course, finding appropriate wood to make our bow drill sets, and coming back and producing an ember, along with a number of other deliverables, including materials for buck saws, for pack frames. The bow drill fire was essential. It allowed us to boil water, to make charred material for the next fire, and for warmth at night. It was quite cold, especially during the evenings, and the rain was, I'd say about 60% of the time it was raining, with really high humidity the rest of the time. The focus of the class was on the 5 basics of survival: fire, water, shelter, food, and tools. We dove pretty deep into each of those. We took the basic skills that we had and refined them over the course of the 5 days through constant repetition and practice. When you think you know something, make yourself uncomfortable, get distracted, and then try and perform it. In a nutshell, that was advanced survival. We were doing the basic skills that we learned in a comfortable, controlled environment, and adding an element of chaos that really cranked up the mental strain to affect basic skills, basic tasks. We were assigned a total of about 43 deliverables over the weekend. One of our first projects was completing a buck saw. We packed in a 24-inch buck saw blade with us, and we had to build a frame for it the first night, so we'd have it to use for the rest of the weekend. We also had to make our own pack frames. I spent a lot of time getting my gear ready for the class. I used my World War II mountain ruck frame, and I had my gear dialed in. I had it down to about 18 pounds. I was so happy with myself. It lasted a day. They had us out on the course gathering materials to make new pack frames that night, plus buck saws and bow drills. And we got to enjoy our packs the first day. The second day, we were using our self-made packs. A lot of guys used a ladder frame. I used a Roycroft style pack frame. And we also had to fashion our own cordage out of some jute twine. They showed us how to twist up rope and make our own cordage. It was pretty cool. So we used the cordage that we made with our own pack frames to haul all of our gear with essentially like a blanket style pack. I had actually brought along some bungee straps that helped me out because it let me keep my gear modularized, much like I had it packed on my World War II frame. So I had my bedding in one roll, I had my shelter in another roll, my poncho was separated, and then my gear was wrapped up inside the bedding and my clothes, I believe. So it let me get quick access to what I needed to get to, plus strap on extra items that I found out in the field. So it wasn't too bad. I rather enjoyed it. The 18 pounds got significantly heavier though. I would say we were probably running around with about 45, 55 pounds of gear by day 4, day 5. It got quite a bit heavier. Each time we made something, we had to add it into our equipment and carry it along. Some of the other projects we made, besides the buck saw and the pack frames, were tools to hunt with. We made frog gigs, basically 4-pointed spears. We made fishing poles, hobo reels. We made natural cordage. We also made a few traps, different trigger designs, spring poles for both game trails and fishing. It's excellent information. Some of the resources that we were sent out to acquire on the land navigation course was largely trees, tree bark for medicinals, for fire starters, for tinder, for making cordage. The wood from the trees was used for building materials, for making tools, for making shelters. Firewood was a daily task. Just like in basic, every time you went out, you had to collect a significantly large bag of sticks. And you wanted it. There were some long nights. The intensity increased each day. The exercises seemed to get harder and more abundant. The navigation courses got longer with more points to navigate to and keep track of. We had to record all of our bearings, our distance between points, and we utilized this to make our own maps so we could move away from the topographic maps we were utilizing. It was a really, really cool tool for finding your way around. The tools that they gave us at the advanced class would allow anybody that knew how to use them and with a sense of direction to basically not get lost. You'd be able to make up your own maps. So if you were in a completely foreign area that you've never been in and you'd establish your base camp, you'd be able to go out and explore and catalog your resources and know exactly how to find them and how to get back to your camp. Really valuable information in a survival situation. Our main tools for doing this were a compass and some ranger beads. We also used a Write in the Rain notebook paper to keep track of all our bearings. There was no food and no water inside the course. Everything had to be secured from the environment. That meant for water, we had to get our bow drill fire. Without that first fire, you weren't able to boil water, you weren't able to drink. So after a long day of working out on the navigation course and building all your materials, if you didn't get that fire, you're going to be hurting. So if you're thinking about going, make sure you're up to speed on your bow drill. Recovery is an issue. You want to make sure you're hydrated before you get there. From my strength training background, I can tell you, you can start hydrating several days in advance, much in the same way that a bodybuilder or somebody who does physique competitions would hydrate their muscles before a competition or show. You want to up your water intake. 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons would be pretty fair. You can also up your carbohydrate intake. 1 gram of carbohydrates holds 5 grams of water, and you can store that subcutaneously under your skin. So you can load up before you get there, which is a really, really good idea. After you get your fire, you want to be boiling water. You want to be boiling water and hydrating all night. The night was broken up into shifts. We had fire watch. After the fire was established, we take turns with our training partners, maintaining the fire. One would get to hit the bunk for an hour or two and catch some sleep, while the other one maintained the fire and worked on projects throughout the evening. We made several teas on the course with white pine, and we made a willow bark decoction, which was a medicinal. The willow bark has a precursor to the ingredient aspirin, and you could slightly taste it, and it was really satisfying actually. We had that on day 3, and it was pretty welcome. There was no food. You want to load up, have a great dinner and a great breakfast before you get there, and just be prepared. like I we didn't really eat for the 5 days. We each picked up 3-day fishing licenses, and we had the chance to go fishing at one point and to spear some frogs. But there wasn't a whole lot of food going around, and it just added to the experience. The first day, you could kind of feel you were missing the meals, but after that, the hunger, it became a non-issue, and you just became focused on the tasks at hand and meeting what was expected of you. We were running on something other than our usual energy sources to get through those 5 days. Over the course of the class, I had half a garter snake and half a slice of pizza that I won for starting a fire with flint and steel a little bit faster than 3 other guys in the class. It was a contest they held. The instructors held the third morning, I believe. So yeah, I got to split a slice of pizza with my training partner, and then later that afternoon we got a garter snake, and that was our food for the 5 days. We had lots of water throughout the course, but not a lot of food. I think I lost about 15 to 20 pounds over the 5 days. I've put it back on. I'm back up to where I was at before I left, but you burn through some resources. You do a lot of work. You're not just sitting around at camp bushcrafting, doing classwork. You're out in the field, marching with your gear, collecting resources, and it's pretty demanding physically, and that adds to the mental stress as well. So you're tired, you're stressed out, and you've got to do this stuff before you're able to get some sleep, before you're able to eat, before you're able to drink, and it doesn't stop. Just like a real survival situation, you're in it, you got to do it. I'd say on average, I got about an hour of sleep a day. One day I got 2, maybe 3 hours, but about an hour a day. I was up doing projects, making sure I got my work done. Some of the skills were still new, still fresh. I tried to practice what I could, what I knew of, the 2 weeks leading up to the advanced class, and try to get in as many reps as I could. But there's stuff that I was still new at, and that I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to do the best I could. So I sacrificed a good bit of sleep to make sure I got my stuff done. The weather was up and down the whole weekend. It was raining when we arrived, and that was the start of it. We were going through our gear in the parking lot in the rain, and I'd say for about 60% of the class, it was either raining or threatening rain, really high humidity. It wasn't the best for running bow drills. During the night, it got quite cold. I packed a pretty decent Gore-Tex jacket. I'd say it's about a 3-season jacket, and that kept me pretty good. I had a military wool blanket. It's recommended to bring a queen size, or you could have used 2 military blankets. I had the 1 blanket, and I had one of my palakas, which I used as an extra layer. Sometimes it was a ground cloth, sometimes I was using it as a bivvy to add an extra element to my wool blanket. With your gear, you want to stay as light as you can. You want to stick to the class list and not much else. Aside from just the gear list, I had 2 extra pairs of socks, a stocking hat, my jacket that I just mentioned, and that was about it. I don't think there's really anything else. You want to make sure your feet stay dry, make sure you're airing them out at night. Maybe a pair of sandals would be good to wear around camp after you get back from the field, because there's a lot of water on the course. Boots were getting soaked. We had to dry them out every night at the fire, dry out our socks. You just want to make sure you're taking care of your feet. You got some good boots before you get there, and just be prepared to do some work to keep them dry, because the threat of trench foot was very real for several of the people on the course. Ticks were everywhere. A lot of guys were talking about it. I brushed off several off my arms and my hands throughout the course, but when I got back, I didn't have any on me. And I did something a little bit different. I used Vicks Vapor Rub. It's got this minty, really strong minty smell to it. And I just rubbed a little bit on my ankles, the top of my boots, and my waist, and the back of my neck. And I had no ticks on me. Between intermediate and advanced, there's quite a big jump in intensity. The class format was quite a bit different. Intermediate, we were in a classroom, a good bit of it. We were learning. We were still going out and doing the exercises, but a lot of it was we were being instructed on. In the advanced class, we were demonstrating our skills. We were expected to know some stuff and to be able to do it. So you just want to make sure you're up on your basics, and then you're practicing your basics. That's what it is. That's what you got to do. Spend a lot of time working your bow drill. It was a really important skill to have. You want to be on top of it. I had multiple issues getting my bow drill fired the first day. I think I burned through 8 holes that first time. You want to be able to problem solve as you're going. You want to be able to read the dust that's burning, that's collecting. You want to make sure it's collecting properly, that it's getting air, there's no moisture. So you want to make sure you're getting some reps on your bow drill. That'll help you out significantly. Although we worked a wide number of skills, the real education was in the immersive nature of the class itself. We were in it. Like, we had to do it. It was a controlled environment to an extent, but at the same time, there's quite a bit of chaos. Like, we had to deal with the weather. We had to deal with all the water and the mud and wet tinder, wet wood. Like, all of these things were making it more challenging, more difficult, and we didn't know what we were going to get. We had to deal with it. There was no stopping until graduation, unless you wanted to tap. But the instructors were great. They worked with everybody there. They were super patient and got everybody through it. Like, our class, we had 7 people in it. 7 graduated. I'm not sure if that was a first, but it's definitely a rare occurrence. In an interview with Dave a couple years ago, he said that in 10 years of running the advanced class, they've only had about 50 people patch out. So I was fortunate. I got to go through a good group. I got to train with my same training partner from the intermediate class, Ryan Markey, and that was an awesome experience. Ryan really helped me out. We knew each other pretty well from the intermediate class, and we were able to hit the ground running. We got there and we attacked. It was an awesome experience. It was humbling. It was so challenging. It was probably the most challenging things I've ever done. And it wasn't so much just the difficulty of the tasks, the things that we were doing. Like, none of those individually were out of my means, but combined with the whole experience, it made them quite a bit more challenging than you'd ever experienced. So instructors are great. They worked with everybody. They pushed everybody along, and they got everybody to dig much, much, much deeper than we ever would individually on our own. Like, nobody would do that to themselves. Nobody would make themselves that uncomfortable and challenge themselves that much. So it's quite the experience. If you're serious about bushcraft and survival, improving your skills, these kinds of things are important to you, I highly, highly recommend the Pathfinder School. The system that they've laid out, the tools that they've made available, it's world-class. They've got world-class professionals seeking them out for the training that they're offering, the skills that they're teaching. And it's all right there. It's right in Southern Ohio. And, you guys can learn a lot. I sure have. I'm going to keep this going. I've decided to sign up for their instructor program and take some more classes and improve my skill set, my knowledge base. So I hope this helps. If anybody's thinking about doing the class, you got any questions, hit me up. Just drop a comment. I'm happy to respond to everybody. But thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning into Endurance Room. Thank you, Pathfinder School. Make sure you guys check out Corporal's Corner, Sean Kelly, and Joshua Enyart, the Gray Bearded Green Beret. They both have killer YouTube channels. You can learn a ton from them. I sure have. And as always, Dave Cannonberry, like, the guys put out a massive body of work. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Wish you all the best. Please hit the like and subscribe button to help me grow the channel. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. You guys take care. Cheers.